Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Wednesday night segment of the Outer Realm. We are broadcasting on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by the amazing people over at Folgers Coffee, who have been a part of our journey since the very beginning. So thank you, Folgers. We really appreciate having you along for the ride with us. Also, big thank you to Dr. Snick, aka Justin Snicker, the Sonic Surgeon, for our intro and our outro. He is also one of our amazing sponsors, whom we appreciate so much. He is an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music, which can be found anywhere that good music can be found, including Bandcamp, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon. Go check him out. We are doing our pre-recorded show today as we speak. We have our returned friends and guests, the Lost Relic hunters, Carl Cookson and Hamilton White, who were just waiting for them to chime in. And they don't like the late nights. I guess it's really hard. There's like 5 hours ahead. So we're like, lightweights, okay, whatever.
Yeah. I'm destroying my office here because I'm half asleep.
Yeah.
The light hurts my face.
It's like vampire light. We don't do well in the daytime, but here we are. And whichever platform tonight, of course, will be all the usual platforms that you're used to finding us on, which, of course, is the YouTube channel Outer Realm, UFO Gods and Extraterrestrials, of course, UFO Paranormal, United Public Radio. So I don't have it all in front of me, guys. Bear with me. So, of course, Facebook, we have... Again, news on the flip side, Joe Montel, the UFO on the cover, Canada's Most Haunted, The Outer Realm, and I believe UFO Paranormal. And I am being asked, yes, please, come on in, guys. Okay, there we are. Woo, okay, so now we wait for the guests. So, of course, we'll be manning the chat room tonight. So, everybody get in there and let us know what you're thinking about it, because the guys will be able to check it out after the fact. And speaking of, here, door number one, Hamilton Way. Hello.
Am I allowed to speak?
As much as you want, just no name in anything.
Okay. So I'm not allowed to mention this wonderful mug that you so generously supplied me with.
Absolutely. Thank you.
So
you got a darn original.
Folgers, we can mention this now, can we? Officially, like.
Is it great? Yeah, I love it. See,
I love it, but I put my cappuccino in a regular glass.
We're all triplets. Yeah.
Are we connected to the world, or are we just talking to each other?
No, it's actually broadcasting right now on the Outer Realm YouTube. I know, but it will go across everywhere tonight. Of course, the recording will play. And so we are officially in live mode right now. We're waiting on Carl to join us. So
Hamilton needs Cheetos. I'm just saying. So if anybody wants to send him Cheetos, send him Cheetos.
£9.99 for a family-sized bag.
Yeah, but it cost me $100 to send you a bag.
But those Cheetos are $13 Canadian.
What's that? I'm not very good on Canadian dollars. I mean,
wait, did you say 13 American? That
no,
would be
pounds.
No,
that's
you
like
said £9, and then you
Canadian.
said that's $13. That would be American.
Well, no, we're almost double what the British pound.
A little bit less, a little bit more than euro, but
Just
a little bit less than double.
Yeah, when I was there,
that would
it
be
was
about
like
$18
to every Canadian dollar.
It would be about $18, $19 Canadian for those. And let me tell you something, they go on sale for $4 here.
I don't want them that much.
So
I don't like them personally.
I had no breakfast. I mean, I just couldn't believe that. I mean, you're just a normal news agent. So it's like, oh, God. So what have you pair been up to? I know you've been busy being ill. Are you now not ill?
I'm always ill.
Are we not ill?
It depends what you're asking. Physically, mentally. Mentally, I'm always unstable.
Okay, good.
Yeah. I'm good. Thank you.
You're mentally unstable. I'll vouch for that.
Yes.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
Does Carl know? Has he acknowledged?
I've sent it to the three-way chat, and I've just said to him, go look over there. I think he saw it though, enough. So we're waiting. So yeah. So what you've been up to? I know you've been doing some camping, and you've been doing what do you call magnet fishing? Can you explain that to anybody who's like, what the heck is magnet fishing? Even though to me it's an obvious.
Well, it's kind of fishing, which is like something you do with water, and a magnet on the end of your fishing rod, and you just chuck it somewhere, and sometimes it brings out interesting things, or if not, it's a great excuse to sit by the river for an afternoon and drink beer.
Oh, I see. So
great.
So win-win, right?
Yeah. I mean, I went off with a friend of mine because we'd been threatening to go down to one of the local rivers for ages, and we ran out of excuses for not doing it. So it was all right, actually. I mean, it was good. We didn't find anything interesting, but it was just sort of psychologically, you think, oh, I've not wasted a complete day today. I've done something useful.
Right.
Whereas if you sat at home and drank beer all day, you'd just think you'd wasted the day.
No, I'd fish in the grass. I'd magnet fish in the grass.
But is it ever a waste to sit down with a nice cold beer? I don't know. I don't think it would be a waste.
I hate beer. I hate the smell of it. I hate everything about it.
Carl's got the spirit right
there. Oh, I can smell it from here. Seriously,
right
that's better. Right there. I'm going to do the Folgers. No, that wasn't quite the perception that we were trying to give. Oh, okay. My dog's going to bark on and off because the water truck is here. So I'm going to mute.
Sign of life outside the exterior.
He doesn't like him.
Yes. Yeah. So Hamilton was just explaining about magnet fishing. So did you get anything exciting during your magnet fishing expedition?
Absolutely nothing. A great pile of rust. I mean, nothing of any kind.
That sounds familiar.
Rusty nails and junk and lumps of iron ore. It was just a good fun thing to go and do for a bit, really.
But was it old lumps of rust, or was it fairly new lumps of rust?
Well, we went to a spot on the river that we knew a medieval cottage had been demolished and pushed into the river about 100 years ago. So we were just fishing out a load of the nails and metal patches, and it was fairly elderly stuff, but still rubbish.
That's like, it's so easy and nonchalantly said in England. Oh, it's just a medieval village thrown into the river. What?
It's playing in the park. Yeah.
I know.
So but no, other than that, I don't know what have we been up to, Carl? We've done a few things, haven't we?
We have been up to some good stuff because we're talking to people about doing a really important exhibition on the collection and a number of other projects with them that could all come together in London, actually. Nothing's confirmed yet, but there's no real reason why it won't happen. And we've Hamilton had contact with a guy the other night that's very interesting to us because he's actually an academic, which, as you know, they don't normally come on board in our realm. But this guy totally gets. I mean, he's telling what he said. It was interesting, I thought.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a fairly leading academic who spends half his time in London and half his time in Israel, and he's sort of affiliated to the UN, and he just wanted to get in touch with me, knew all about the Hoard. He was very familiar with quite a number of the pieces.
Nice.
And it was a case of like, yeah, this stuff is really good. He told me some very interesting things that links up some of the artifacts to possibly the Jewish religion and Jewish ritual vessels, and also some crossover with modern Masonic ceremonies, which I know nothing whatsoever about. But he seemed very up to speed and could see a link between all of it. And as Carl said, unlike every other academic, absolutely keen to help. Love the stuff. Please stay in touch. We'll have a meet up. Love to see it. And if I can help, I'll help, which was, that only came yesterday afternoon out of the blue. So that was really good, actually.
That is really good.
Yeah.
A friend from America who is quite involved with the Israeli archaeological people. And it's funny because there is kind of synchronicities happening now with this guy named Stan, the guy Hamilton just spoke to, the people we've been meeting in London, and some new pieces that have come in the collection, which one of them is super important. And the whole thing could actually completely unify in a really unexpected way.
Yeah, not what was expected at all. There seems to be a sort of Jewishy link come into it. And both of the people we've spoken to who don't know each other and are coming from their own different angles, both came out with exactly the same ideas and the same sort of, well, this is what's going on behind the scenes in Israel at the moment. They're both involved with it, sort of not surreptitiously, but very much below the radar in how they're working. And it was just fascinating that, like, all of a sudden, after all of these years, something's just dropped in place that makes, God, absolutely perfect sense. You wouldn't believe it, but okay, totally new spin on it, which is great. Really good.
I think it's great because it adds credibility. Again, I'm going to go there and I'm going to name any names or anything because I actually don't want to get the show booted off anywhere. So I'm not going to name names. However, what you're doing is adding credibility to your own expertise, your own research, hence the word what you own and what you've done. You're not kind of like spinning off anybody else, and you're having all of these other academic people coming to you and saying, hey, you know, we think this find is credible, we like the research about it, and we want to know more from your standpoint. I think that's really fantastic.
I think it's like the reverse of normal treasure hunting or normal exposés. We've got the stuff. We've already got the stuff, and now we're digging for knowledge.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. And I mean, the guy we had a meeting down in London with during the week, another guy, I mean, he's within, I don't quite know what he is within the Masonic world, but fairly high ranking. But his knowledge of the subject and looking at the pictures of some of the items, it was very much, yeah, we know what that is. Within masonry, you do this, that, and the other, and that's very similar to something we use. And just, it was great to have somebody talk fairly openly instead of just look at us like we're a pair of lemons. It was great, really good.
Never heard that. A pair of lemons.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's different.
That's what you feel like sometimes, that these sort of people with pieces of paper after their names just look at you like you may as well not exist. You know, it's dreadful.
It's true.
So it's been a very, very, very good week. And I think more information has come to light this week than probably for the last 3 or 4 years cumulatively. And the right people who want to help. The idea of an exhibition, now all this COVID nonsense is over. We've got a venue suggested that it was where we wanted to go before. And yeah.
For the Hoard?
Yeah. All of a sudden it's starting to feel good. And, you know.
Is this a definite?
It's a definite from everybody that's involved with it. It's a matter of actually the logistics of putting it together, and our sort of Masonic man going to his comrades or whatever Masonic people are called once he's seen it. I don't know what the word for Masonic.
Yeah,
Masonic brothers is what they call them. Sorry,
the Brotherhood. Yeah, we'll just go
Oh
with the
my
Brotherhood.
God. I love that.
It's scary though, because you mentioned before that as much as you guys would love to see this, because it deserves to be seen, it deserves this place of honor because it's just been kept hidden for so long. I mean, you guys find it and the world gets a glimpse at it, but protecting it, ensuring something that is invaluable has to be one of the biggest things on your mind right now with this thing.
Yeah.
How does this
Seriously.
happen?
Yeah.
Well, that was it in a big part of the conversation yesterday. Was it yesterday? Day before, wasn't it?
You know, I lost yesterday. I thought it was Tuesday today. Sorry.
Did.
You know,
I'm like,
sorry.
was it worth it? You lost the whole day.
I don't remember.
We did also. It's not.
Oh my God.
It's not something that we can insure today because there's no price on it because it literally is priceless. And even if you
Well,
call the notion,
a lot of things are priceless around the world, and they're still insured in the Louvre and various museums around the world. So there has to be someone.
Well, you can insure it, but that means the French government's paying the bill as opposed to me.
Okay.
Isn't that great? But
Wow.
then if something happens, like who
Well,
collects?
yeah.
Again, priceless
the
is
idea, the idea is that where it will be held, I don't think there's going to be any better security in the world because the kind of people who will be looking after it are extremely powerful people.
Correct. Yeah.
And we'll have the resource to do that. Short of that, Hamilton doesn't mind sleeping on the floor in a sleeping bag.
No,
So
I
he
can do that. Well,
could
mate.
actually sleep.
you go magnet fishing.
Yeah,
You just fall off the wall.
Yeah, wouldn't worry me at all to sleep on the
Mona
floor
Lisa.
somewhere amongst it. Yeah, no
I'm-
problem.
I'm gonna go obsidian fishing.
Is there a magnet for that?
Sure.
As ridiculous as it sounds, I've got this little tiny piece here,
Mm-hmm.
Ooh,
It's pretty.
which now that came out of one of the Portuguese rivers, which is a tiny little fragment of obsidian where you can just about make a cross out
yes,
of
you
it.
can. Yes, you
And
can.
Yeah.
that is more than likely another obsidian vessel that was thrown in the river to get rid of it. But all that's come out is this little tiny fragment, which is such a tantalizing, like, oh no, somewhere in the river there's the rest of this smashed to pieces.
Get your diving
swim?
gear on.
I can float about a bit. I wouldn't call it swimming, but
Well,
you know,
I'm a good swimmer and I can dive, so I can go in for
Oh, okay.
you.
If you get to Portugal, I'll give you the coordinates of where this little lump came out of.
Yeah.
And if you want to
Well,
kind of
I'm
do-
expecting you to guide me. I'm not going in that water without
Okay.
somebody telling me exactly where it is.
Use
thing
your
is-
remote viewing capabilities.
This hair, these nails cost a lot of money. I need to know exactly where it is. Yeah.
Well, the problem you have with rivers is something that was thrown in a river possibly 500 years ago isn't going to be where they threw it. It could
Yeah,
be a
and you
mile
couldn't-
further down. You know,
And you
it's-
would never be able to pick that up on sonar because it's stone.
no,
That's sad.
yeah. This
You'd
was
have to
just
you'd have to drag it, drain it, and start digging.
yeah.
I don't know.
Well, I
What do you
mean,
think
start
the
building a
Portuguese
dam.
government would be on board? We
If
drag
they
your
were getting a
river.
piece of it, they
drain
would.
it.
I don't know, but it's just fascinating that, well, certainly, without any question, there were things thrown in the river to get rid of them, which we knew anyway. But, you know,
Right.
that is another lump of a vessel.
Well, you know, during the
Mhm.
Inquisition that went on at that
Yep.
point, a lot of stuff was hidden. A lot of stuff was thrown just for the sake of hoping to save it, maybe returned for it. Not 500 years later, mind you, but you know, so it is really sad when you think how much history has been lost that way,
Totally.
not just in this situation, but you know, but of
Mhm.
course,
No,
you guys.
well, I don't think anything's lost at the end of the day. Although it might, I know it sounds a little bit airy fairy, but although it's lost physically, it exists somewhere, you know, because
Mhm,
it's always existed.
I
It
agree.
depends whether you Yeah, I don't think things are just, if they're smashed, they're not necessarily smashed. They could still exist somewhere, So I just think that there's more to it than that. But even the people that use them, whatever they did with them, and the effect that had on them, they passed that down to other people. So it's imbibed itself within, the ancestors and the people of the world. So maybe
I'm cutting out and frozen.
we smashed maybe.
You're cutting out, and then your words are freezing a bit.
Oh, am I?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. But if we don't get a response right away, it's because there's a little bit of a delay. Yeah, just show that.
Yeah.
You can't speak, huh?
Just don't speak for the next hour.
Just hold up the cup. That's
all
it.
you gotta do.
We're good. We'll be locked down for another year easy with that.
And I mean, the other
They'll
thing
give it to
is,
us.
we're still talking to Wayne and Sean about the whole American Templar thing, and quite where they're going with it, we don't know. They seem to be piling up plenty of information.
I know.
I don't know quite.
I know where it's going.
It's ongoing and ongoing. So we've still got
Few people into the next dimensions. What it's going to do? That. I'm not bitter.
Nothing.
Me either. No.
Nothing in this industry appears to happen quickly, does it?
No.
To try and get somebody to make a phone call. Oh.
Some of the most successful reality shows that I have seen over time, and I've met these people who are behind them, and I'm not going to say anything because there's a new one coming out for this gentleman, took over 10 years of shopping networks to get it on the air. That's what people don't see. They see the instant success on television. They don't see how long it took to get to where they were at that moment. And a lot of it is knowing the right people. It really is, because you need to get your foot in the door and get that product shown, and you need to sell it and tell them why they want it. That's and right. That they're going to make a ton of money and sponsors to put it on air. It comes down to dollars and cents. And that's what it comes down to on television.
Eventually they come to you, though, when you build.
Eventually, when you build a reputation, But when that's what's happening with this gentleman. He had a very successful reality show with his wife. I'm not going to say anything, and anyone who knows me knows who I'm talking about. And she shopped networks for over 10 years. And then, sadly, she passed away a few years ago, and he's starting a new show that he's just putting out there right now, and it's going to be really good. And why did he get it? Because of who he is and what he built. He didn't have to shop the network the second time.
Okay.
Yeah. I think when you've got, especially when you're dealing in this case with TTNA, you also have names that are out there. They are public names. So there's already an established connection to the world. I mean, you guys, obviously, because you are, this is what you do, right? And, and then you've got Sean, working with masonry, and he's got his connections. Wayne, like he says, is just happy to drive the bus and see where it goes. That's always good. Like, whatever, I'll drive the bus, So, I mean, Amelia and I, we were behind the scenes, which is great. I out of all of the years I've spent filming, I love the behind the scene consultation stuff and the digging and the research. And, I'm happy to be in that seat, which is always a welcome change, because the pressure's on you guys, not on us. Sorry.
We get to sit back and drink beer and watch
you guys under the bus with Wayne at the helm.
We don't have to worry about the makeup and hair chair.
Well, that's when we were filming, I think, the first series. One of the guys in the film crew said, I said, oh God, we've all had a few drinks tonight. I'm going to be rough tomorrow. He said, why do you think I like being on this side of the camera?
You can hide the lack of sleep on the other side.
And
I'm working on 4 hours right now, just saying.
Anonymity is really undervalued.
Oh yeah. I saw daylight. I was like,
Oh, my face hurts right now from the daylight. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
My
It's the
face literally
sun.
hurts from the sun.
Okay.
It's hot out there.
So yeah,
It's
I mean,
hot. Yeah, it's disgusting, gross hot. Like humid. It's been 44 and 45 degrees Celsius plus humidity. It's been nasty. We've had a heat wave this week, but the mornings, because we're heading into September, are freezing. They're down to 13, 14 degrees when you wake up. So you're like yo-yoing your clothing all day
Keep my
long.
nice pale skin too.
Ugh.
yeah, pasty.
Right.
I wasn't born that
My
way.
nocturnal
I'm
look.
Italian. Unfortunately, I came with color. But yeah, it just I haven't been in the sun though.
So Hamilton, you were going to say something. Go.
Well, yeah, I mean, we
Yeah, you're
haven't
fidgeting.
haven't been wasting our time. I mean, there's been an awful lot of things going on, like you say, it's behind the scenes, and the frustration is not really being able to tell people what we're doing or all the research that's going on, because there really is some fascinating stuff. And it's great, but it's just playing this wasting game until we can get a deal and actually do something with it. We just can't tell anybody about it now. It's,
I'd be nervous about telling anybody about it. You always have eyes on you.
There's a lot of people that are trying to
emulate.
Yeah, and insert
like
themselves in
very
something
much.
that's already produced.
Yeah.
It's true. It's true. If you're not putting it out there, then all other people have to go on is what's already out there online.
Yeah.
That's it. You know, you don't release anything until you can do it, or you can, you know, on a public venue or public, you know, platform, which basically stamps it right to you.
Yeah, exactly.
That'd be true.
It's difficult to know who you can actually talk to openly now. I mean, it really is.
Oh,
The number of people we discuss what we're doing with now to any great detail, it's like virtually nobody. You just can't afford to. We've all been in the position now where our work and research has just been taken off us. So sorry.
Yeah, and unfortunately, non-disclosures don't mean anything nowadays either.
Meaningless, absolutely meaningless.
Yeah, I've seen that in the last few months.
It's not even necessarily obvious intellectual property. It's the nuances and the style that's being plagiarized, some of the formats that we've sort of developed on how we present and how we show the people who watch the programs what we've discovered. And even basic silly things like photograph formats. Yeah, people are just copying.
Just hold up the copy.
And it's a compliment in a way, but
brilliant. There it is. My God.
Something's silencing you.
Yeah.
When you cut out, we'll put the mug up.
That's it. That way you know.
No,
Spencer's going to sign us for the next 2 years now. 2 years.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah. I mean, we thought we could spin the tables on everybody else, and perhaps we'll pitch a program about finding loads of pieces of wood, or better still, we bury loads of pieces of wood and then find them later and get all excited.
I know. Who's got the best wood? This sounds so wrong, but really.
Oh my God!
Only you guys.
That's going to be a winner. That is. The whole world wants to watch a program about people finding small pieces of wood. Christ, cracky.
Oh, this is just going in the wrong direction. Honestly,
this is a great bit of Americana I bought in somewhere in Vermont years ago, which is like this little 18th century pot, which I keep my pens in. I thought I'd smash it into 30 pieces and bury it. What do you reckon? Can we film that?
Where are you burying it? It depends.
I don't like to see anything historical get destroyed unless it's.
I bet if you went to Vermont, you'd find a million of those. The whole East Coast is loaded with.
I'm just a weirdo
stuff.
Like that, though.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people that will find a piece and go, "Yeah, it looks a bit beat up, but I don't want to touch it because it's just what time is done to it." You know.
Yeah, I agree. But I don't know what else. Well, we were up in Scotland. We did Ross Lynn, and we did some of the Scottish battlefields and Templar sites.
So you're
That's
bragging,
beautiful.
essentially.
That was
Yeah, no
beautiful.
kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
We're stuck over here in a heat wave.
Yeah,
But
Ross Lynn is quite fascinating. I mean, I've been past it, but it's the first time I've ever been inside the place.
Hmm.
It is very, very interesting, isn't it? I mean, how long were we there for? A few hours, was it?
You know, one of the sad parts, though, is at some point in the past when they decided to preserve the masonry work, they formulated this gunk, this glue, and it just painted over all the stonework. And it's created like a layer of dirty, gluggy sort of, lose the definition of the crispness of the stoneworks being hidden under it. And it's actually more detrimental than just leaving the stone to work. Actually, but they have started quite a while back a project to remove all of it.
wow.
And, I mean, you go in. I don't know about the code thing. People say it's loaded with code. Look at the cubes on the vaulted ribs. I don't know what the cubes are. They might just be decorative geometric patterns, or they might have a meaning. But I don't think you need to read that much into the place to enjoy the sum total of it. You go in there, and it's an orgy of flamboyant Gothic architecture. It's absolutely amazing. It's completely over-decorated, over-carved, and obviously the highlight is the apprentice pillar, and then the maze. There's an arch with there's a section within it that's full of plants and vegetation. They're all carved, and one section of it was maize. And the question is how did they know about maize when it wasn't even in Europe at that time?
Exactly. I would tend to think it's more interesting. I would like to go underground, down to the old caverns, and people don't realize the caverns under there. And I remember saying to Sean, you said, well, okay, you had an inn with like Andrew. I said, I want to know what's underground. And he smiled and he goes, Templars. Yes, I know. I knew it. It just, he goes, no.
That's funny. Didn't a remote
cannot
viewer say
necessarily
something
get
like
to them,
that?
but there's, but the caverns, everything to me would be just more fascinating than all these people up there. And I get the codes and I get all the imagery, and I spent hours in there just, looking at it and admiring it for what it was, for the workmanship and the creativity, all of that. But the whole time under my feet is just like vibrating. And I'm just like, just gotta find a way under, dig a hole, damn it.
You might get classified as a grave digger.
That's just gonna say, I'm down. Anybody in for a midnight run?
You could just go there remotely.
Yeah, there's just so much more fun being hands-on. Sorry, Hamilton.
No, I was going to say the bit I found interesting, more so than the main body of the church, the little bit of the crypt that you can go down to, sort of to the right-hand side of where the altar is,
yes,
which is the slightly older part of the church.
Right.
There were a lot of interesting marks on the walls that, at first glance, you would probably think they were normal masons type marks. But the chap we were with, who's very up to speed on the reading of symbology, the number of little pentacle marks that are carved into the walls that aren't Masonic or aren't Masons marks, but it's the same markings we've seen over in Portugal in various places. And there's far too many of them in such a concentrated little area that, I don't know, again, it's what are you reading into it, but it's all there quite deliberately. It's not just a random smattering of these marks. And that's something that isn't really covered in any of the books, because everybody wants to do what's upstairs. And there's some other very interesting, I don't know if it's geometric patterns, but again, very similar to what we've seen in Portugal. And it was just, I found that very, very interesting, more so than the commercialized upstairs bit, which is fantastic to look at, but it's been done to death. So I think
you look for those little hidden
that's
things, right?
interesting. But it was just good going with somebody who has an understanding of symbology as it relates to biblical era and as it relates to the sort of the Jewish tradition. It puts an entirely new sort of way of looking at things, and marks we've seen in other places in Europe. You now need to kind of go and have another look with this kind of fresh insight. It's very stimulating, really good.
And
well,
it's old. It's not like you see, unfortunately, people with graffiti or people just, defacing.
That's fun.
Yeah. So that was good. And we had a bit of time in Edinburgh. Then we went up to Stirling and Stirling Castle, over the site of where the Battle of Stirling Bridge was. So that was a really good few days doing fun stuff in the sun.
William Wallace Monument. Did you guys go over there?
Here's my bit of stone I nicked from the William Wallace Monument.
I do shit like that.
Oh my God!
I shouldn't say that
There's
live,
two
but
of you.
I send all kinds of that stuff.
Oh no! You're not supposed to take anything from an ancient anything.
No. It was all lying about on the floor.
It was loose.
If it's not attached anymore,
so was the whole
right?
diamond, but I didn't take it.
It was loose.
I'm preserving it. It could have got lost.
Same with Hamilton.
I'm gonna throw that idea at them for the Hope Diamond. I'm just preserving it. I want to make sure nobody touches it.
Exactly.
Yeah. I'll wear it at all times.
Well, I had to find something to do because Carl and Stan went up to the top of the Wallace Monument, but I can't.
Left him to his own devices.
No, I can't do heights. I can't go up anything. I just absolutely freeze.
Leave Hamilton alone.
So
you're afraid of heights?
No, I can't do heights at all.
So you would never be able to do the edge walk at the CN Tower.
Nothing.
Oh, I'm looking for someone to do that.
Forget
it.
He's happy to help Michelle dig graves and get.
No problem with that.
Okay. I'll go up to the tower. Are you afraid of heights, Carl?
I'll do the heights. Yeah.
Okay, so we'll do the edge walk at the CN Tower. We can raise money. You never know.
As a bump,
When we were
I'm not afraid of heights. So
when you guys are going down Hamilton, I was just gonna wave.
Yeah.
I told you shouldn't have been up there.
No one's going anywhere. They harness you to the tower, and then you lean back and you just walk around.
Forget it. I mean, when we were filming in Istanbul, much against my better judgment, I went up onto the walls because they wanted to film us on a section of what remained of the original walls. And I mean, it was an absolute disaster. I mean, I just absolutely went into panic mode and had to be led away like a baby. I just couldn't do it.
So maybe you need a couple of beers before you do it.
There isn't enough in the world that would make me do it.
Okay. Yeah, that's a therapy moment.
We just couldn't film because I just had this complete panic attack that all I could do is basically try and find a bit of wall to cling on to. And obviously I'd still be there today if Carl hadn't have manhandled me off. I just can't do it.
Well, if you couldn't get off, we would just send you burgers.
Yes.
And a tent.
And a tent.
Throw you up there in the corner.
A blanket.
But potholing, I've got no problem with crawling into little caves or graves or vaults. No problem with that.
I can't do that. Claustrophobic.
No, you won't do the.
I love that stuff.
No, me either. It's gross, and there's spiders, and it's small, and I can't breathe.
Where's your sense of adventure, Bubbles?
No, my sense of adventure is in the air, not in a hole in the ground. No.
I'm lucky. I'm good with either. Sorry.
I'm claustrophobic in an elevator. So no.
Okay. Carl, you were saying something? There's a bit of a delay. Sorry.
That's okay. Now, when we was filming the first series with Annika, and we were in the area, obviously visiting these caves, the Bethlehem Cave, and the one Otto Ron went to. And this cave is funny because it's got caves within the cave, and it's actually got caverns, but they're about that wide. The hole, you just about squeeze yourself into them. There's no chance I would have done it. Hamilton happily slithered in like a snake, and then we didn't really know Annika that well. Me and her was looking at Hamilton, and while he's having a ferret around, I decided to block the cave up with rocks. So I'm picking big rocks up and I'm building. Next thing he scuffles forward.
Oh my gosh.
What are you doing? What are you doing? I said, and he says, do you want me to phone your girlfriend and start blowing it up about things? You know,
we hadn't gone prepared. We hadn't got a torch. So Carl had got a torch on his mobile phone. So I had to use that. And that was the threat. Right. I'm going into your messages now if you don't shift those rocks.
Okay, a torch for the rest of the world is a flashlight.
That's right.
Because they're going to hear torch and think you lit something on fire, and when it
going up in smoke in the cave.
yeah, torch here is a stick with a
the funny thing was, I looked at Annika because the film crew were in bulk. They were absolutely laughing their head off because it had just happened out the blue. And Annika, being such a professional that she was, she didn't want to lose composure, but in the end, the face just cracked and she burst out laughing. You know.
Is that the first time that she met you guys?
It was the first time, wasn't it? And it was a pity it wasn't used in the actual show because it was so fun.
Right.
It just
you should have a reel of clips from those pieces that you loved that they didn't.
For reals.
Yeah.
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 There were so many little spontaneous fun things like that.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, I think people would have preferred it because it was just such a great laugh. And it, it was unrehearsed stupidity that was just really good.
But that's real. That's
and it's
real.
got to be difficult too because people who first meet you, who's doing a guest appearance like she was, especially if it's their first time, and you see Carl trying to wall up Hamilton, it's got to be this is not right. I mean, it's wrong. And you're trying to maintain your professional demeanor. It's like, what the F are you doing?
I have rules to entering crevices of a mountain. It has to be bigger than me. It has to be taller than me.
Yeah.
You know, if you dust it before I go in, that would help.
Yeah, it's just not for me, that pothole job.
Yeah.
Well, I've got such bad allergies. I probably sneeze my way through. I'm just not comfortable in small spaces.
I'll climb a tree. I'll climb a mountain. I'll do all sorts of stuff on heights, but not a chance on confined. Those guys.
I'm the same. I'm the same way.
I think they go down tunnels, and I think, well, what if you can't shimmy back? You know, there's no one behind you to pull you back.
It's like that cave diving thing. That's what happens.
There's a film right now, 13 Lives, #13 Lives, about the story about the kids that all went down there and cave diving and they couldn't get back up. Like there's stuff that you have to be aware of. You can't. I would never go into cave diving unless I've been there. Diving down into a cave I would do, but it has to be with someone who's already been there. It has to be a guide. I wouldn't do it on my own because how the hell do you get back out?
People start that way.
That's how they started, but go with the ones that made it back out. Don't go by yourself.
Logic would tell you, follow the smart guy.
Don't go on your own. Go with the guy that's been in and out at least a dozen times.
But I mean, the other thing that's going on, just I'd completely forgotten, is I've been working with Richard Stanley finishing off his Otto Rahn biography, which is all coming together, talking about going to the caves and doing all of that sort of stuff. That he's been on it for 25 years. And it's just about at the point of now it's with the people who are turning it into whatever the printable format from a Word document is. And I haven't done much. I gave it a quick once-over edit and juggled some photos around for him. And yeah, well, I mean, I'm organising the sort of the printing and publishing it to actually get it done. But that's going to be really interesting when that comes out in a couple of months' time. That's going to be a good thing.
Wait. It's coming out in a couple months?
Yeah.
Oh, I have to get on it.
Yeah.
I have to read it. I thought it was coming out next year. And I'm like, time. I have time.
No, what you're reading, that's the follow-up to it, which might be next year. Yeah.
Okay.
No, the actual Richard Stanley full-on biography of Otto that he's been studying and writing is finished, and the schedule is that hopefully will come out sort of October, and we're going to try and inflict him on you, and he can tell you more about it than I can because he's far more knowledgeable.
Inflict him. Do I need a vaccine?
No, Richard's great entertainment.
No, I mean inflict him. It's like
a disease.
Yeah.
No, it's probably the wrong word. It's like you don't call Masons communists. Oh God, so you have these days where the right words just don't flow. It's not inflict. Richard can be your guest. He can.
I'm teasing you. I'm teasing you. You took it too literally. I'm teasing you. So you're doing all of this. You're writing all of this from a tent.
Oh no, it's just nice at the moment. So I'm just keeping in my tent outside. I love it. I love being outside.
What does Hamilton bring in a camping trip? What
kind
of
we want to
food
know?
does Hamilton
I
bring
just
on a
see a
camping
whole
trip?
lot of sponsorship things. Bing, 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 bing.
No
They're
brands,
not
no brands, no brand names. Just
No
what
brand
kind
names.
of food?
Oh God! Well, I was going to say I take lots of Folgers coffee, but if I'm not allowed to advertise
That's
your own
the only
Folgers-
brand you're
They're
allowed to
paying
say.
us.
That's the only one you're allowed to say.
That's right.
They're
Yeah,
actually
Mr.
paying for
Folger,
it.
I'm trying. I'm really trying for you.
See?
I think
There we
Carl's
go,
got it
Folgers.
right.
We
It's
love
like
you,
that.
Folgers. We love
Oh,
you.
brilliant! It's
Yeah.
great
Good.
for camping with. Yeah, it's fantastic for camping.
I like it.
No, my tent is full of junk food and basically whatever is I can carry in my bag that I can drink. I my preferred brand of beer that you refer to rather rudely.
I don't think it's rude. I think it's accurate.
Let's see.
A fact is a fact.
See?
Michelle's always honest.
It's not just me.
Even I don't
I
drink beer, and I
recommend
would
it to
never
you with
resort
good
to
beer.
that brand.
Oh, really? Okay.
You just choose to not drink the good beer that I recommend. I like imports, but not to that
Oh,
degree.
That is some nasty.
Exactly.
You don't
You know,
feel
with all due respect to the moose. Just
Poor
saying.
moose. I bet you the moose really isn't as bad as the beer.
Right?
Oh God. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I'm gonna have to send you some Canadian beer.
Okay, yeah, we give that a go. I didn't
No,
know
you don't wanna
Canadians
give
had
that a
beer.
go
I
either,
thought you
no.
had
It's not
no,
bad. We
Canada.
have some good brands.
maple syrup. That's
We
Canadian.
Coming
do.
from the chick who doesn't drink the beer.
No, well, that's what I hear,
chick who
right, from
drinks
the
the beer.
guys. They have their picks. I mean, I keep it stocked. I don't drink it, but I mean, I keep it stocked. But
Okay, that's good.
I keep
Right.
several stocked, including the one that you like to drink.
Yeah.
I actually I actually bribed Michelle today because I'm so tired. I said I will make you dinner and a cheesecake if you
Whoa.
cancel this show because I want to go back to bed.
But
didn't work
showing
'cause
the
we're
love
here.
that we show. Here we are.
Here we are. Okay. Oh,
I'm like,
dear.
I'm so tired. But yeah.
But
Well,
so
okay.
you great good things coming. I like that.
Yep.
Let's talk about some other things such as you guys you're finding your research showing up elsewhere, but it's not even done properly. So it's stolen in the wrong way. It's not even stolen in the right way. So what this is a tough, I always say it's much like our field. It is very difficult to be credible. And in your field, if you don't have that piece of paper attached to your name, you are basically a collector. They don't look at you really much beyond that, even if the cool stuff does seem to all find you guys. So I can
Really?
imagine you
Without
gotta
a
go looking
PhD,
for it all.
without a doctorate?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you do really credible research, and a lot of people come to you guys and Hamilton, you've got all the war stuff, and there's a lot of stuff. People for years are coming and saying, okay, what is this about? And you know your stuff, right? And Carl, you know your stuff. You guys got a good eye, you know what you're looking for. So you can't really stop it once it goes on air, unfortunately, because then it becomes like sort of like public domain.
Yeah.
It's got to be discouraging because it is hard to be credible. What do you say to people like, well, I know what I would say to people like that, but what do you say? I'm waiting for it. I was like, no, don't say that. No.
Gently.
Yeah. So yeah, be gentle. And what do you, it's got to be annoying, and it would make me angry. How do you deal with it?
I don't think you need to say anything. It's self-evident. And we've just got to get on with what we're doing and not worry what other people do. If we, what we've done is evidenced in time and by the artifact. So if anyone wants to follow in the trail, it's fine. It's actually like a compliment in a way, and there's no point getting upset about it. It's frustrating because we've got so much stuff to show and so much to tell, and the opportunity just for whatever reason is not on the table today at the moment. We're raring to go. We've got much more in terms of content with the items and with what we've learned. And I think we just have to accept it. This is life. We just have to wait and see what happens.
But when they take it and they change it, it's got to be like, wait a minute. Because eventually it goes back to the source. And the source, if the source is you guys, then it comes back to that, So Hamilton, you're fidgeting, and I know when you fidget, you just got lots. Go out, go nuts.
Yeah, I'm the opposite. It makes my blood boil.
I know.
Absolutely sends me incandescent that these ignorant, talentless people are incapable of doing even the most basic research. That it's, there's so many subjects and so many.
Can I turn my camera off?
No, come back. I haven't started yet.
I was going to say, don't go back like it is.
It's just pitiful. It really is pitiful that then
I need the fan.
Can't do anything. And I mean, the one particular individual, I wouldn't give her a job as a janitor, let alone as a TV presenter.
Oh, come on, let's leave this out of it. There's no point.
No, he can leave her in because I don't like her either.
You've been ruder about it than I have. I've still got the messages.
Yeah, but at least I had words. I had words with her to her face. I cleared that crap up.
Okay, so
I just don't think it adds any value to what we're doing to be critiquing other people on that level. I really don't.
We're not doing anything because they've stolen what we were supposed to be doing.
I believe what Hamilton's talking about is the information being taken.
I know, we know, but this is the industry. Plagiarism exists. It's rife. Just accept it. There's no point. You're not going to alter the world. You're not going to alter.
That's a good point.
You're not going to alter human nature. This is the industry you're in, and if you come up with good stuff, it's attested by the fact that people do plagiarize.
No, it's not plagiarizing. No, there's a difference. If something comes out and it's been broadcast publicly, such as stuff that, we could take any program and copy it. Anybody can do that. That's plagiarism.
But doesn't it become public domain once it goes?
Personally, I think we need to wash our laundry in private rather than publicly. I'm not having any part of it. If you want to go down that road, you can spout off.
We're being asked questions. We're answering them.
What I was saying is, when something is on a TV show, does it not become public domain? It's not like
yes, it does. When it's on the show. Yeah.
Okay.
I just don't think I don't think this is of any benefit. This, I really don't. You know, you can have your rants as much as you want. It ain't going to change jack diddly squat.
People recycle the research, right?
And it's if you're lucky enough to get more work, it will happen again and again and again.
Well,
If you want to fade into insignificant into the distance, you won't get copied at all.
No, it's not. We're not talking about copying work that's been out there. We're talking about taking work that hasn't been broadcast, that's original work. There are two totally different scenarios. Totally different.
Yeah, that would be difficult.
That's a difficult thing, especially for someone who is curating something and is brand new and hasn't exposed any of it. That's what we're referring to, not what this person or this individual has done, or any individuals, because like Michelle said, once it's out there, it's out there. Anyone can take it. But this hasn't surfaced yet.
Yeah.
And I dealt with it in my own way privately.
Yeah.
But
you look at all the great information that's out there about the what Wayne's got, the Team Templars, that's nothing to do with us, that's not our research. I mean, look at the way that information has just...
I know,
but you know what? I've been in business all my life, and I've seen this in every area, the same thing. This is human nature. It doesn't matter whether you're in TV, whether you're renting cars out, whether you're selling apples and pears on the market. This is what humans do. So you have to deal with it and stop worrying about it, and be the man that comes up with better products and constantly keeping ahead of the game. That's all you need to do.
He's got a point. He's looking out for you.
Say again?
I said Carl has a point. He's looking out for you.
But it doesn't matter how much fresh information you acquire if you can't get it out there. It's you've hit this dead end. I mean, it's the same thing with some of the contacts Wayne has come up with on Native American stuff. It's the same as what Sean has hit on with some of the research that he's now got, because he's picked up all the rest of Andrew Sinclair's work.
Interesting stuff.
Which is, I don't know all of it, but there's some very, very interesting stuff that's never been out there before, that is all Andrew's work, that he died before that came out.
But the thing is, too, is Sean became the caretaker of that because Andrew said, bring it out.
Yeah, take it. But, it's the same problem that those guys have got. They can't share it with anybody.
No.
They can't put it out themselves. So all this fabulous information is just completely dead. How on earth can you use it?
I don't believe it's completely dead.
Using this opportunity to talk about the fantastic stuff instead of the negative stuff. There's your chance.
I think, the thing is, the only negative part, I think, of all of this, I mean, it's always good to see the information get out there. At the end of the day, you want the people to see the information. You want your work to be out there. I think, the honorable thing to do is give credit to where the work does. I do a whole other show, Joe and I take extensive amounts of research, and I will quote like every article I found it in. You have to give that credit. It's not mine to take, to put out there. But when you have, television shows, there's very little integrity. And believe me, I've got relationships with great producers who have a lot of integrity, but once it hits the air, that's it. Then their work gets taken by these people who syndicate it out. I think when they've got their eye on you because they're trying to expand, pre-existing projects, or they're just trying to get out there, why not come to the source and say, look, you guys obviously know what you're doing. You obviously know what you're talking about. How can we make this work, instead of bringing on people who are just going to take it and not even do it justice, I think is the point where I'm trying to go with it. It's like, I've worked with amazing producers, or I've consulted, for studios and different production houses who have said, okay, look, this is your thing, it's not our thing. And I say the same thing. I can do this, but I don't know how you do things. But the fact that they're like, well, this is why we try to reach out to people who are on the top of their fields to get this out. Like there's this new word. And again, I know a lot of people who use or label themselves with the word theorist. And I think it's great because when you're dealing with ancient stuff, it pretty much, a lot of it is theory if you don't have a lot to back it up. You guys got the hoard. You guys have the artifacts. You guys have all of this to say, well, we know it's the things, here it is. But for those who don't, and most of these people haven't even physically touched a lot of the stuff that they theorize about. But I think, do you think it's a word that people can also hide behind?
Totally.
Okay.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I think when we look at historic items, you can only put theories in most cases to them. There's a lot of the items you can't prove anything, so one man's theory is as valid as the next.
Right. Yeah, it's just, there's just a lot of things that are born out of theory. But again, if you have people who actually can make it more probable, I would, I for one, as a producer, I would want to work with the people who have already done the research. I wouldn't want it secondhand.
There's no doubt about it for me and Hamilton, because we're absolutely intimate with the items. We see them, we touch them, we see them together, we hold different items. We eat and breathe it, and it's in our mind because we physically touch the three-dimensional items. We know the story behind them. That does give us an authority, absolutely. But it shouldn't really stop any third parties from looking at them and conjecturing themselves. I just think, you're right. We do have an advantage because, we're in control of them and we can touch them at any time. And touching an item is completely different than looking at an item on telly or a photo. When you can actually see it in real life, and then if you can actually touch it, move it around and understand its weight, look into the depth of the detail, that does give you an insight that nobody can get unless you get that close. It's just an absolute fact.
Right. I agree. I think people also get blinded by the potential of the brass ring, the potential of the stardom. And it's just like, sometimes you tend to leave your integrity behind,
Yeah, sure.
You shouldn't let your integrity behind for anything.
You look, all the sort of the great things now, it's all this sacred geometry, how things line up around the world. Yeah. Well, you go back, the very first guy who did anything on this was Henry Lincoln, going back to the sort of 70s and 80s. I mean, Henry died this year.
He did, yes.
And his theories on the geometry around Rennes-le-Château and how a lot of the castles line up, which he was the first person to come up with these theories about how things will form exact geometrical shapes. And that was sort of, at the time, quite revolutionary thinking. Now, nothing was actually ever proven on that, other than the fact that if you put it on a map, well, certain places do line up in a very unnatural way. And that's probably as far as you're ever going to take it, because there's never going to be an explanation why. But I mean, you look over the past, I won't say 50 years, but over the last 10 years, everybody's jumped on the bandwagon of this. Every single person is taking maps, call themselves a theorist, and just drawing lines to make things line up with where they want them to line up. I mean, the current map that's being used, you know who by. Well, I've taken that same map and I can draw lines on it that line up with my apartment in Monaco, where I'm sitting now, and historical points. I can make it line up with Disneyland and historical points. It's people jumping on a bandwagon to make things fit that have no provable basis, no nothing. That's just jumping on a bandwagon to create nothingness.
Which takes, you're taking a chance of discrediting the whole. Let's use this. We'll use this because we're talking about it. But so let's say sacred geometry. If this is being discovered, I mean, you're like, no, this can be done. So it takes away the credibility of maybe what Henry was perhaps trying to say. But on the flip side of the coin, what if somebody comes in to do the research? Like, what if somebody expands on that and hits on something? Because let's face it, everybody's different. They may have a really phenomenal idea and go, oh my gosh, I wonder if this can be something. Like, do you close the door on it, or you know, I mean, generalizing sacred geometry and everything else, do you close the door on it, or do you just hope that you can at least get a really reputable individual who can come forward and say, bam, bam, bam?
I don't think you should close the door on it at all, because there may very well be something into it. But I generally think, you know, when I was a kid and I used to watch the telly with my mum and dad, it's like that program Gogglebox now where we all comment about experts and all that. And most of the time, what your parents, ordinary working class people do is actually see right through the bullshit. And you can see through television, and they're very adept at spotting fakery instinctively, because people don't want to. That's another aspect, you see, that people don't realise how powerful instinct is. And you might want to be presenting theories, but if you're not the credible person presenting them, and you're doing it to have a career in telly, or you just want a vehicle to PR yourself, I think it comes across as disingenuous, and it's perceptible upon, you know, a very intuitive level for most people to see.
Right. I agree. I think first off, the word expert is pretty overrated in some fields. Some, I think, get it more than others. I use my own field as an example. It's something that really doesn't exist to be just, you know, if you're working in something that's really hard to prove, then there really isn't an expert. But I think it's harder for you guys because the alleged experts fall into people of academia, and that takes away from, you know, if you don't have that piece of paper, it's almost as though you're not taken seriously. And you guys probably know more than many people who have just gone through academia. Like, how many people who have, because I know archaeologists and such, I know several, and some of them don't even really get a chance to get out into the field aside from just university brief training. They don't really do much past that, where you guys are constantly out in the field.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at, if you just take the sacred geometry, I don't think there is an expert, because Henry Lincoln invented it. The subject didn't actually exist at all until he started drawing things in the area where he lived. And I think there is an enormous amount still to be investigated around that, because there isn't actually an answer to what is it and why were the ancient people doing it? Because, you know, it certainly goes back the alignments of pyramids next to each other. You know, it is a very ancient subject.
Right.
And I think there can be extremely credible research done on that. But when it gets to the point of just taking maps and drawing lines because it fits a storyline you happen to be working with, it discredits the people who are actually trying to do proper research on very, very valid historical things. It just belittles everything they do.
Well, I agree with you, and I think as soon as it goes to the airwaves, or as soon as there's interest with media, they make it fit because it's ratings. And I think somewhere, and that's in anything you watch, it's about the ratings. And sometimes that research takes a back seat, or sometimes you beat the horse so many times, you know, trying to make those pieces fit that you can't go any further, and you should just let the horse go.
about it. Yeah. Well, it's not
Right.
even research trying to make it fit. It's simply making something up for the sake of entertainment and
Right.
piggybacking on a topic that people already know about.
It's
Right.
all due to this. It's all due
Exactly.
to money.
Correct.
And when the
It's
money stops coming, the stories aren't told
That's-
anymore. But with what we were discussing previously, without getting into
Yeah.
too much about
You
it,
know the score.
sometimes when someone releases stuff, it backfires on them and it shines a light on the person. And I believe that
Integrity again, right?
integrity, and I believe
Right.
that for every bad that's done out there in this field and in television, that there's some good that comes out of it, like recognition and a light shining on TTNA saying this is something that needs to be explored and told.
Totally.
So I think some good will come out of it, you know.
Oh, I know it will.
Yeah.
Just saying.
It doesn't matter how bad something or someone is. When
They don't put
something's meant
everything
to
out
be
there,
out
let me
there,
tell
it
you.
gets out there.
Mhm.
Good stuff always comes out, doesn't it? I mean, if you've got something good to reveal or show, it's going to eventually get out there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Put the lid on it.
And it, you know, and my part of it with the emotional part comes, I don't want anyone who's new to this that has something to be taken advantage of or hurt. That's all that it is. And that's where the passion comes from.
And that makes it hard. Yeah,
Yeah.
it does. Yeah,
You
because
know.
you're really empathic too. So that you catch that on a whole, like other different level
I
besides
hold
that.
back a lot, and the only one who knows that is Michelle. I hold back a lot.
Mm.
Yeah.
So
I mean, particularly on the whole subject of the early American history, of which not very much is really known about pre-Columbus. I mean, little bits are known and accepted, but the actual amount of factual evidence that is accepted
Right.
is remarkably small, really. And it should be a case of when something that's worth serious looking at comes out, it should be done without prejudice, because this is something you look at it when nobody has already had the chance to pass comment on it or pollute it. It should be viewed in a completely kind of virgin type light of let's look at it properly, not be clouded by comical jokes or anything else, when it's really, really heavyweight stuff.
I agree, because it takes away again, you know, from the credibility. I'm always the first to say putting too much information out there is never a good idea.
Yeah.
You know, just let things flow. I'm a firm believer in just when you have it all, put the package together and put it out there.
yeah, you have to be careful what you put on the internet.
Well, sadly, it doesn't go away ever, contrary to what
No.
people tell you. If it's once it's online, it does not go away. But yeah, go ahead. What? Sorry, you're fidgeting.
Oh, no.
I was catching
No,
a
I
fidget.
don't
Like,
sit
what?
still, I constantly fidget. I mean,
I was just looking to read. When Hamilton fidgets, is like, just shut the heck up. And let me go.
Hamilton's background light is freaking me out.
I know.
my what? Sorry.
Your background light, the in, the out, the in, the out.
Oh, it's because there's a light on. Hang on, let me turn it off. See if it
Oh
does
no,
it.
no, it's okay.
That's okay.
No,
yeah.
no, you can leave
Doesn't
it
matter.
on. It's just
okay.
it's funny
No,
how
Bubba's
when you move or
Bubba's just
speak.
messed up
Oh,
because
sorry.
she's like,
Oh,
it's
okay.
daylight and stuff.
No, all it is, there's a light on my desk in front of it. If I move, I'm obviously going in front of it. Sorry, I'm not
Right,
aware
no,
of
it's fine. It's fine.
It's fine. I'm just picking on you.
Yeah, that's right.
I pick on people I love. I can't help it. I'm using Joe's line.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Joe picks on me all the time.
So you have a project in Portugal that you started also. It's been a while since you guys have been on, right? So it's been a few months. So, well, you have
When was
land.
it?
You
When
have,
was the last
weren't
time
you
we were
starting
on?
something in Portugal? A piece of property that you were doing up?
Oh, I've got a piece of land just sort of right in the middle of a bit of wilderness that I'm in the process of kind of, I don't know, put a cabin on it or put a,
Oh, okay.
I don't know what, put a something on it. But yeah, we've had a bulldozer in and flattened a bit of land and started
Right,
to do a
okay,
little bit
okay.
of work on it. But it's a case of getting over there now and just having the time to do it. And the last sort of couple of months, there just seems to have been loads of things on that just haven't had a couple of weeks to go away and look at it.
Right. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Thought you spent some time then you were doing something with it.
Yeah,
So-
yeah, it's progressing slowly, but it's just come to a halt at the moment. And
Does
it's
it have
not
any
gonna
like
happen.
rivers?
Well, it'll happen. It'll probably be a
fishing.
winter project.
Yeah, right.
Winter. You can find
Yeah.
another diver.
Yeah, okay.
No.
Because I mean, we're lining up another meeting with the sort of the guys we're working with for the beginning of September to try and take the whole exhibition thing a little bit further and
Right.
talk. And it's just very difficult when you're trying to get 4 busy people in the same room at the same time to try and coordinate diaries. God, it's difficult.
Right. So aside from all of these meetings that you've been having, as you do have things coming up, do you guys have any other projects that you have that you can talk about, or that you are, sometimes this is one of those things that's a thought in your mind and it hasn't come to fruition yet, but it's going to happen at some point.
Well, Carl has. Carl's been on cars and motorbikes. Tell him about spending money you haven't got.
Yeah, right.
Go on.
I'll tell you a little story about, well, in 2009, I was living abroad and I was renting my main house out in England. And my brother called me up and he said, "Oh, it's really strange. The windows are always drawn, the curtains, and the garden's overgrown." So he said, I'm really concerned. So we went and had a look and we had a chat. We concluded that it might have been a cannabis tree. And it turned out that it was. And it was really weird because when I found out the actual story of my brother going in with the police and bursting the door down and discovering it was quite interesting, a little bit funny, but I didn't worry too much because I thought, I'm insured and all that, Anyway, the bottom line is it didn't really work out, the insurance. So I ended up, it's took me since 2011 till literally now to get all my ducks in line to get planning permission. I got knocked back twice, then I appealed it and won it. So I'm literally now just about to demolish the house and build a house again, which is quite exciting actually.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good.
Shouldn't be so hard, should it? It just makes you wonder, is it worth it?
Oh my God, building
This
hell.
is time I'm never going to get back.
You never get back, are you? And I've been paying rates for all that time. Up until been paying like 400% property rates on it because it's empty.
Wow.
I've had no rent on it since then, and I've got the cost of doing all the work. So it's been an essence. I am actually glad to start, just with it. So I can move on now. You know what I mean?
Right. So that's going to be a fairly lengthy project, I have no doubt.
2 years, yeah.
Wow.
It's going to be nice. And then the other week, I bought a car off a friend. When me and Hamilton lived in Monaco, there was a bloke we knew,
Yeah.
Tommy and his wife. And they were from Scotland. He was from Scotland, or is from Scotland. She was from Jersey. She was a farmer's daughter, and she's very wealthy. And they married and had a great relationship. And I think in 2002, he was at one of these charity dinners, and he bought this really interesting car that come on in the hotel for auction, and it was I'll tell you what the car is in a minute. So he bought it, and sadly, about 6-7 years ago, she died. And he needed to get rid of it because he'd moved back to Spain, and there was all complications art and registration. So I done a deal and bought it over the phone, but I couldn't believe how much he was in for a lot of work to get this sorted out. So I had to, I couldn't get it transported in the end. The car was stuck in an underground basement in Monaco, and the car parking was going to have to be relinquished at Christmas. otherwise it would get towed away.
Oh my
So
gosh.
I paid for it. Then I couldn't get a transport company, and in the end it was a nightmare. So I was I'll have to collect it myself. So I ended up getting a trailer made, especially for the car. And
Oh wow.
I hauled it all across. I went from England to Rotterdam, and I drove. I thought I'll have a holiday out of this as well. So I drove with an empty trailer all the way to Serbia and Bosnia and Croatia. Then I come back up, and that was difficult because you can't just drive into towns with a trailer because you might not be able to turn around. You know, they're not easy things to use.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Anyway, I ended up on the last place going back was Verona, famous for Romeo and Juliet. Stayed in this very interesting guy's castle, which was unbelievable. Went for dinner that night, and in the morning headed off to Monaco. And I ended up picking it up, which was a lot easier than I thought, because they don't want you in the town in Monaco with commercial vehicles or trailers. I thought, what if the police just stop me and say you'll have to leave? That's like, I'm in too deep now, you know. And
That's it. Now we're going for it. Right.
so I found my mate Ken up, and he said, well, right. He said, well, I'm going to take my boss out for dinner. So I drove to Montauk, had some dinner, and then he called me about 7. He said, I'm back, do you want to do it? So I said, yeah. So I headed back into Monaco. Managed to pull up right outside this hotel, an apartment block. Ken come up, we drove in the basement in his Range Rover, tied a rope to the back of it, tied it onto the island. I sat in the back of this little car, we got it out, loaded it on the trailer, and I was so relieved that I had to cling film it all because it's got all special things on it which I can't tell you. And headed off. And I was absolutely shattered. So I thought, I'll get a hotel now, I've got the car.
Right.
I'm driving till 4 in the morning, couldn't get a hotel. So I ended up driving all the way to the Loire Valley, a place called Semur on Oxwell. It's a fantastic town with the castellated walls and brilliant.
Nice.
I've been years ago on a bike. And then I thought, well, I've cracked it now. The only problem is, I thought, what if the French customs stopped me and there's a problem with paperwork? Well, I got to the customs on the Channel Tunnel, and it wasn't. He's a fucker.
We'll leave that there.
Oh my God. For those of you that are listening and not watching, we're not laughing at Carl.
No,
Hamilton
no.
just put up a sign, gone to get a Folgers back in 2 minutes.
That's right. Yeah,
So when you
people
were
forget we're audio too. So
when you were in Verona, which was where I was supposed to go years ago for art school, my brother wanted to send me there, but did you write a letter to Juliet?
Sorry, I didn't hear that.
You didn't hear me. When you were in Verona, did you write a letter to Juliet? Because under the balcony is the wall of letters to Juliet, and these Italian women sit in a room and write back to the people that leave them there.
I didn't even know that, but I did.
Yeah, next time you're there, write a letter.
It obviously should have been aware of that when it was picking the car.
Yeah, there is a film about it called A Letter to Juliet, and the letters are written, love letters are written to Juliet to bring love into their lives. And then these Italian ladies sit in a room and write back and put them in the walls when no one's around.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. See, I told you, I taught you history you didn't know. Look at that. Little Canadian girl.
How did I know this?
Little Canadian girl. Well, because I'm a romantic, so I know all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's really sweet. It's really sweet what they do.
We got the guy that had the castle. He told us where to go for dinner, and the restaurant was brilliant. It was a really
you can't get a bad place in Verona, including coffee. Coffee's really good there.
Yeah, it's a great, absolutely great place. Is it as good as Folgers?
No, nothing is as good as Folgers. Nothing is as good as Folgers. Yeah. On that note, That's probably a good time.
Station ID.
It's a
Right.
good time. I'm just trying to get my list and dismiss all my emails about how many dresses I bought this month. Okay. Bad. But anyways, you are listening right now to The Outer Realm with Michelle DeRoche and myself, Amelia Pisano, coming to you from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are live on 105.3 FM radio. Tonight we have our favorite dynamic duo from the UK, Carl Cookson and Hamilton White are with us. Stream live or listen to our archives if you missed the other shows and you haven't quite know who they are, then you really haven't been listening because they're on quite often.
Naughty.
But you can catch the archives and catch up. But tonight is something different from the other shows. A big shout out and thank you to the amazing people at Folgers Coffee for fully sponsoring our show from day one. We love you and we thank you so much. It's a good thing I can't see what you guys are doing. That's all I'm saying. And a huge thank you for our outro and intro, Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, Justin Snicker, award-winning composer and musician. You can find his music on Amazon and Bandcamp, and you can stream him. You could probably Google him and find him anywhere, really. He is that good. Find him on Facebook and Instagram and connect. He often plays little bits and posts little bits of his music all over social media. You can tell I'm half asleep. I'm very sorry. I'm just like,
the bobblehead. I know. You'll be okay.
Yeah, I'll be okay. I have to go to the gym after this. It's not going to be that great.
It's still afternoon here.
I know, but who wants to go to the gym?
Yeah, I'm mates in the pub at 8 o'clock because we're all going to the Isle of Man for the Manx Grand Prix on the 25th on the bikes, and we're just having a logistical meeting in the pub.
Oh, cool. I love
That'd be
motorcycles.
nice.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
My favorite ride ever was on the side of a mountain in Italy. Probably the scariest, but the best. Hairpin turns. That's what you do when you're young, because you know, if I did that now, I probably wouldn't get on the back of the bike knowing I might fall off, because there are no guardrails in southern Italy on a side of a mountain. Nothing. Zero. It's fun though on a racing bike. It's fun.
Well, what Carl hasn't mentioned.
Go ahead.
What Carl hasn't mentioned is he spent all of his house funds on motorbikes again. So how many bikes have you bought in the last?
Nah, Carl's smarter than
last
that.
time you were on here?
Carl's like, no, Hamilton's right. I did
only
it.
know because we were moving warehouse a few weeks ago, so it was the first time they were all in one place at one time.
It's nice to see them all together.
Hang on, if I count the bikes there,
Oh,
that
shit.
isn't quite the sum that you told me you've got. There's at least 4 there that.
See, Carl's like that wife who says, pulls out the new dress and says, I've had this thing forever, but he does it with bikes. So when Hamilton comes over, he goes, I've had this thing forever. What are you on about?
Yeah, and I do it. I actually do it with dresses and shoes and purses and jewelry. Jewelry is a big one.
I just do it with old stuff.
Yeah, yeah. You can't hide all those chairs, Michelle. You can't hide all those shares because you have to put them in storage. Yeah, I can hide jewelry in a corner. Diamonds go into corners and they never are found until I wear them. Dresses, I have to bury them. And I got 9 I got to hide that are coming. That's not good. Yeah, she prefers chalices, Hamilton. Do you have a baby? Do you have a baby one you can part with for Michelle?
Well, actually,
I'm still waiting on those crisps. Excuse me, sir. Did you not say in the tent that you were sending me crisps?
Can you believe it?
He's ignoring me, and I believed him.
That unsavory shall remain.
He said I had a poor childhood because I never had Walker's crisps, which we call potato chips here.
Probably had that night.
Yes, Hamilton. I'm still waiting for my Walker's chips.
Okay, that'll do.
There is a baby chalice.
That's perfect for Michelle. She has a place for it right behind her.
There is one little one. This is a fresh one that hasn't been seen before, but it's a sort of less than half the size of all the others.
But I love the opalescence of it, unless that's just the reflection.
So where did you find this one?
Again, it's the same thing. It's one of the Portuguese finds.
Right.
I mean, it's another convoluted story, but I found out yesterday that although I didn't actually get it from exactly the same source, it is another one of the pieces that actually came out of the original find in 1960. I mean, I've had it quite a while, and for some reason it's not gone into storage with the rest of them. But talking to the guys that we've been talking to, I thought it was strange because there was no reason why this one is totally different proportions to all the others. But from talking to people and the ideas that we've had in the last couple of days, all of a sudden, yes, now we know. There is a reason why this suddenly fits in and explains. Oh God, when you've been told by somebody, it's so blindingly obvious, but you're sitting there looking at it and you don't see it because it's right under your nose.
And also because compared to the other chalices, it's not the most glamorous, dominant visual chalice.
So beautiful.
You tend to kind of, you prejudice the item, but it is pretty. But compared to the others, it's not as,
It is.
I love the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
It's got Roman numerals.
Yeah, it's got the same lettering, the IHSV, whichever. Hang on, I don't know where it is. There it starts.
I saw the V.
Yeah. You've got the IHSV, which is repeated on a number of the other things, which is in hoc signo vinces, which is one of the Templar Latin phrases.
Right.
But I dismissed it as a bit of a sort of freaky thing that, I don't know, somebody just made a small one. But it now completely starts to open up a whole new story because it's part of a little garniture set rather than a standalone thing. And all of a sudden, oh, Christ, this might actually be one of the key pieces to help explain what all of the ceremonies link together with.
Oh, my God.
And you have to love it when that happens.
Again, you can't explain it publicly. Right. But it's like all of a sudden there's a whole new avenue and the information is out there with some people. And it's like, oh, wow, this takes you in a whole new direction that's absolutely fantastic. And it's not come from either of us. It's come from people who have got their knowledge in their own specific fields. And when they actually saw the pieces, it's like, oh, yeah, we know what that is. That and that should go together. Ah, wow, yeah. So it's not actually a midget chalice. It is actually a unique part of a little set that's got its own little separate bit of history, which is just fantastic. And again, I think we can actually prove it now because the knowledge is actually there. It's great.
But actually, that was the very thing that we thought might happen after we'd done the show. Well, the two shows was that it's going to bring people out that have got knowledge that will add value to this collection and will help us to make sense of it. And there's people coming out now that are actually doing that.
Well, it's strange. I mean, we've had two really, really good people this week that have really injected an enormous amount of knowledge and not even theory, actually sort of, I think, probably what is factually correct, where we've had nothing for probably 18 months, maybe longer than that, then all of a sudden from sources that you wouldn't think, just out of nowhere, somebody starts talking and it's like, God, that makes sense. That's really good. And I mean, again, without saying too much, using this and the knowledge we've now got, that sends you straight back to Rosslyn and the Sinclairs and the Masonic link and it just slots into the story so brilliantly. And it's just now you've had it explained to you, it seems so obvious that, like, how didn't we spot that? God.
So this was part of the reason you went to Scotland?
Well, no, I mean, we went to Scotland because the American guy wanted to go up and wanted to go and see Rosslyn.
Right.
I mean, he didn't actually see this piece because it's the one piece that isn't stored with all the others, only because I've forgotten to take it up there. But it was just talking to this these two guys about sort of Jewish sort of ceremonies and Masonic ceremonies and what is used in the higher orders, and suddenly it just dropped into place. Well, hang on, there is one little mini chalice. I wonder, and it's like, oh yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. Brilliant, absolutely fantastic.
I think
Wow.
it's great. I mean, obviously they come in sets. Do you know, as part of the hoard? Well, you know, because they're saying, yeah, there's this, and they're including this. Do you know? Because I'm not sure if we've ever asked you. We know it came out of Portugal, but you know, do you know where? Was there a temple when it was used? Did it come right from the Holy Land? Like, what is it? If these were used, actively used by, you know, members, where did they come from?
I mean, if you look at what everyone wants to conject, is that when the Templars were in Jerusalem, they under the Mount, that they discovered items there.
Yes.
That's quite possible.
Right.
And then if you look at the hoard coming from Portugal, and then go back a bit when it in 1307, sorry, when the Templars were arrested in France, and the night before, we got word, and it was 17 ships.
Right.
Templar ships left La Rochelle. Some of them went to Portugal, a lot of them did, and some of them probably to Scotland, quite likely to Roslyn area.
Right.
It's quite likely that those items were maybe used in France, that were put onto the ship in Portugal, but they were maybe used in French temple boundaries or templates, and then obviously taken to France, Portugal, because it was safer there. There was no persecution, and then that these items are actually among the hoard. So they were probably literally used in France, maybe even in other parts of Europe.
Right. So this is like one thing that I know I've said before, and this is just an example how you had two people come forward with new information. You guys are quite open to interpretation, or you're quite open to people just coming forward. Like it's not like you're like, no, this is it. You know, this is our research. You're like, heck, this is again theory. Give us what you got. I mean, when you wrote your book, you know, your coffee table, the Tomar Hoard, like you pretty much state right in there, like, you know, this is what we perceive it to be. But if you guys know anything else, we're open to hearing what everybody has to say.
I think when people come up with good ideas, best knowledge always wins. You know, it's easy to accept something that sounds plausible to us.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's unlikely that you will ever prove 100% what the Templar ceremonies were, because that knowledge simply isn't there. I think what you may be able to do is work out what is the most likely things they were doing based on either ceremonies from an earlier religion or earlier practices that perhaps they were observing. And I think there's a chance that you can get quite a bit of insight into modern Freemasonry, where some of the rituals may have stemmed from in the more ancient times. You know, I think a lot of people try to claim that the Templars and the Freemasons, it's all one and the same. I mean, I think the basis of Freemasonry is quite possibly based on what the Templars were doing, but there does seem to be a gap of several hundred years between the departure of the Templars and the sort of appearance of Freemasonry. But that doesn't necessarily mean that the Freemasons, when they started, didn't try and emulate what the Templars or perhaps what earlier people were doing beforehand. And I think with the little bits of knowledge we're piecing together and what's coming in the last week, it isn't going to prove it 100%, but it's certainly going to throw a whole lot of new, I wouldn't say theories, I would say actual bits of evidence that you could use to justify what these claims are.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
and not just justify them singularly, justify them by what's happening throughout the world today within, for example, masonry, with their ceremonies. They're all duplicated throughout all the lodges. They're all doing that, then that's a corroborative form. We can, because we're not masons and we don't know what the ceremonies are. There will be.
That was pretty much oral history, right? Like this got passed down through members of the sect. Like this isn't something that was common knowledge to anybody. So I imagine it would be difficult, even for modern masons, to know for sure.
Actual ceremonies that they use relics, they use items for the rituals, and it's quite possible that we'll be able to, find out exactly which items they use that have synergies and similarities to what the Templars used.
Mm-hmm. Well,
it might be that they not plagiarise the actual ceremonies, but if the Templars were believed to have acquired some of these vessels from Temple Mount underneath it, then that is exactly what it's all about. It's that's the sacred knowledge that everyone's after, and they're going to venerate that. They're going to want to be part of that, and the nearest connection between Templars and Masons, between Solomon's Mount was the Templars, so they're going to be to what the Templars did to try and get nearer to what was happening in the great Temple of Solomon.
Yeah, I mean, we've had a good insight from our American friend on sort of the Jewish interest in the Temple of Solomon type era stuff and the ceremonies that were involved. And also what was interesting is the explanation from that point of view is why certain Jewish vessels, why they were made of stone rather than being made of metal or silver or gold, which you wouldn't think of. But again, when it's explained to you that some of the ceremonies, it has to be a natural material and refined gold and refined silver isn't, whereas making a vessel out of a natural piece of stone, although it isn't an exciting flash thing to look at, within the symbology of what the religion is trying to present, it's perfectly logical that these vessels would be made of marble or in some cases obsidian, because it actually fits within the religious belief system itself, which again is something that I certainly wouldn't have occurred
the
to me.
natural aspect of it all.
Yeah, but again,
we'd heard that the reason stone was classed as more pure was because even if you use gold, you have to smelt the gold down in the crucible.
Right.
And in the process of smelting it, you've changed its properties from a solid to a liquid to a solid. Same with silver or any metals. Whereas the difference with carving stone, you chip away at the stone, but the substrate remains in its original form as it was created in the earth by, God or the heavens as it was intended. They believe that because you've not actually melted the stone down and then poured it back, like they do with silica and glass. And that's why obsidian's precious, because it isn't melted and put into a mold. You have to carve it. So the actual material is pure after it's been carved, because it's still the natural substrate within the vessel. And that's why they told us that stone is venerated more.
Could frequency have something to do with the different stones? Because I mean, they were into like frequency vibrations as per all the round rooms that they used to have, right? Like, could that be another reason?
So this is a whole new little avenue of research that's opened up.
Right.
But there are the biblical scholars out there who can explain the transition from the Jewish form of worship as it was in the early days to early Christianity, what crosses over from one religion to another. And does that then mean, they've always suggested that Templars were following something other than normal Christianity. Does it throw up the possibility that perhaps there was a Jewish influence on whatever the beliefs of the pre-Christians were?
Well, they have to be. They have to be, because Christianity is based on the Old Testament originally, bringing the New Testament in. The core fundamentals is based on Judaism. That's just an absolute fact. And Jesus was a Jew, so there's no doubt there is massive influence in the whole doctrine of Christianity.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the great thing about this hoard also is you really don't know how big it could potentially get her. I mean, here you have this other piece like, oh, hey, there's this little baby guy, which is actually pretty relevant, which makes me kind of SOL with hopes.
Well, maybe you have more hopes for the Black Obsidian since it's not as important.
I know, right? He's gonna send me one of those little boiled egg
Hamilton,
makers.
she wants a chalice. I only want crisps, and I haven't seen them. You're like, I'm sending them.
No. But I mean, again, we got a little bit more insight on the obsidian, because where we've done a lot of research on where obsidian was coming from in the ancient world. And I mean, just on one of the other vessels, when our guy was looking at it, I mean, he picked it up within 5 seconds, said, oh, well, that's the seam of natural stone that is just outside Bethlehem. It runs for about 2 miles. It's about, and it was like, what? Sorry, hang on. He said, oh, yeah.
Really?
You wouldn't know that, but yes, there is, just outside Bethlehem. It was a volcanic area, and that. Oh, yeah, that's where that comes from.
Could you test that? Can you test it? Can you test that it came from that exact spot?
He's actually said that there's a global database of geological specimens of stones, and we can actually identify exactly where it's from.
Yeah, just because how you get some regions or something about that region that will be native just to that region. So I was just wondering if that, if he was able to say unequivocally, like, yes, this comes from here, because that's really substantial. That's like pretty amazing.
I mean, he did. I mean, he showed us some pictures that he got of the same sort of area, and like, look at this. It's the only place in Israel where they use basalt for building blocks because it's volcanic. Then, as the seam pans out, the nearer to the surface, the lighter color the material is, and that's definitely from near Bethlehem. And it's like, oh right, all of a sudden you've suddenly got this. Oh well, so the actual material is from the homeland. It's not an imported from, where we thought perhaps Armenia. And it was like, no, absolutely, that's bang, we know where that's from.
And that's where you really, when push comes to shove, that's pretty much the best news you can get. Yeah,
because again, he's then telling us things that we couldn't study because it would never actually occur to you to be a topic to look at anyway. But from his point of view, he's not really interested in the Templary angle. He's interested in what was going on 2,000 years earlier. Right. Well, this symbol on here, this little grape, that means this. And I've seen another one of those. Here's a photograph. Oh, wow. Right. So we've actually got something utterly entirely different to what we thought.
You're in a whole different path now with this word that you...
Wow. That must have been so exciting.
Right?
It was great to sit with somebody who's knowledgeable, and when he's telling you stuff, it's like, well, he spent 20 years over in the Holy Land excavating and working and doing his own stuff. He's flown over from America for, was he there 3 or 4 days? I can't remember. But he's like, that's all he'd come to see. Come and see us, look at the stuff, talk about the stuff. It's a serious person who really wants to get involved and knows what he's looking at.
Excellent.
He wouldn't try haggis, though, would he?
Yeah, neither would I. It's going to shock you, but neither would I.
It's amazing. I'll
Yeah.
tell you what you do.
No, thank you.
You should try it. It's absolutely beautiful.
I'd rather eat McDonald's than eat haggis. That's all I'm saying.
I'm actually with Amelia and
Yeah.
Hamilton on that one.
I'd rather pop a Big
Totally.
Mac than eat haggis.
Yeah.
Here's one Scottish
I
delicacy.
don't eat
Camels.
any organ meat at
Should
all.
never be entertained. Is haggis. I know all the Scottish people are going to hate me.
Oh, I have really good Scottish friends that would, if they were listening, they'd kill me, but I don't care.
No,
Okay, no, I agree with that.
I
Ugh.
know.
Yeah.
Well,
So we're back on sitting waiting because we've suddenly got this great pile of fresh information and like, whoa, this is suddenly all coming together. Now what do we do?
wow.
It's sit and wait because the exhibition is somebody else has got we got a few more things to try and do.
You're brave with that.
Yeah.
You're brave with that. I'll give it to you guys. That would be something I would have a great difficulty going on board with, because aside from the fact that like I would hoard it for real, hoard the hoard, but no.
More storage rooms.
Yeah, but no, I would be really concerned because it was lost for so long, and the potential, you know, like, I mean, I'm of the mind that if somebody out there wants something bad enough, it doesn't really matter where it is if it's not under lock and key, you know. Have you considered, and I mean, you know, you don't have to answer, but have you considered just selling it to a museum or to some place specific so you don't have that responsibility, you know, of having to worry about it, maintain it?
It's not a question of just selling it. It's finding the right recipient for it, because you could sell it to somebody else and they could just hide it,
and it disappears again, right?
Yeah, black market.
Or you could even sell it to someone with more nefarious plans. They might want to pulverize it for whatever turns them on, whatever reason there is. I mean,
Yeah.
you just don't know. And it's a responsibility that we've got. But you know what? It's a fantastic privilege to be in that position to.
Is to be the caretakers of it, even for a little while. But I mean, you know, I always say maybe a museum would be, you know, your best option. But then again, you look at some of the world's museums, and you have items that never see the light of day that are just hidden in storage. And
I think it's something like 95% of the artifacts are in the archives rather than on display.
I don't envy you with respects to that decision. It's a fantastic journey, but it's also a heavy load.
It's a headache. It is a headache. It really is. You know.
Yes. Yes.
And the other thing, it's got to stay together. Now it's been reassembled after all of these years. It has to stay as one cumulative. The hoard is back.
Because how long did it take you guys to piece this together?
Oh, it's about 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of
time and effort.
Yeah.
And it would just be
longer if you count the time we started getting into the Templar thing, because we started talking, didn't we, around about 207 on it when you come up to the house. And
yeah.
You know, but no, it would. I think the next step is to actually get it out there and get it seen. And I mean, we'd thought that because of the logistics of doing it, maybe the best way is you just pick the best 20 pieces and that's it. You do like a little mini. This is an example, but the guy we were talking to was like, no, full on, get the whole lot out, get the arms and armor you've got as well, and we want to do the whole thing. So,
okay. So this brings me then to my last question, because I know Carl has a meeting and I know we're winding down, but because we've only seen publicly a portion then of the hoard. So there's more than 20 pieces.
There's more than 100.
Been holding out on us.
Okay, that's a good way of securing us for the next year, an episode a month.
I know, it's like,
just saying.
What
and also,
did you just say to me? Seriously, over 100.
Hamilton and I have an announcement. We're pitching a new show. Hamilton and I are going to travel the world, and we're going to eat at various McDonald's.
Great.
And we're going to critique them. We've been talking about this for a couple of months. We just wanted to put it out there right now.
Yeah, definitely, we're going for that. But no, I mean that would be the ideal thing.
Well, I missed all of that. It just went off.
It's that Hamilton and I are pitching a new show. We're looking for a producer and a network, and we're going to travel the world and eat at different McDonald's and critique them.
Yeah,
Excellent.
Because they're doing really well with that on TikTok, and I think Hamilton and I would be better.
Yeah, I think it'd be absolutely magnificent show. A really good winner. Yeah.
So
Right? It would be fun.
winding down then, 100 pieces going together. Are these pieces similar in size, or are they?
I think what we can say is that it's split into two categories. The collection, you've got what we call the blingy kind of stuff, the stuff that everyone wants to see, the chalices and the swords and the helmets. And then we've got a lot of equally amazing items, which we call the corroborative aspect of the hoard or collection that actually wasn't found with the hoard, but they're actually items that form the picture and the truth and the whole story about the rest of it, and add so much colour and richness to the actual main items. Because if you just see the main items out of context, it's not as rich as rich story. When you see, we've got some stones with proper polychrome colouring on them from the 11th century, and they're just staggering. And we don't want to say too much about them yet, but that's important items are beautiful. So you're going to get, when we do this exhibition, you're going to get to see the lot.
Will it travel, or are you just like stationary?
Well, day one, we're just going to do the first one and see what happens.
It's easier to keep track of.
Well, when you're talking about traveling exhibitions, then you are really about security and logistics. Those items couldn't go into a hold in an aircraft. We've got to be sitting next to them. Unless someone wants to offer up a G7 or something like that and ship across, we'll have to sit next to them in one of them, in the Gulf.
Yeah, that's a whole lot of I would never sleep again, but that's okay.
No, but I mean, the main things that we've really focused on and tried to research has been the actual ritual vessels themselves, the chalices, because they're the sort of, I don't know, the juiciest bits. That's what people actually want to look at and want to.
I'm a sword person.
Yeah.
But the chalices are stunning. Because I appreciate
the
workmanship.
the sacrifice.
Yeah, you take that, but I mean, in amongst a lot of the stonework, you see, because when the Inquisition came into Portugal, it was destroying every visual image of the Templars. So every building that had got crosses or symbolism, it was all chiselled off and disposed of. So you go today to castles, there's still places with isolated crosses on them, but more interesting symbols and the sort of Gnostic and esoteric things that they were involved with that you now can't reference to. There's lots and lots of stones. There's things like little portable altars, almost like something that an individual would go and worship on his own, which they don't exist. There's no record of any of them, but I've got 7, all different, all very clearly Templar.
I've got 15 of these, 7 of these.
Yeah, but all of a sudden, you've got such a fantastic array of the things that, well, if you want to talk about what they were worshipping or how they were worshipping, even if you don't look at the chalices, well, you've suddenly got this array of pictorial stonework that, well, if you lay it out correctly, is that actually telling you the story of how an individual would go and worship or what he was worshipping? Again, we don't know, but there is enough physical evidence there that if we can tie it up with the sort of Jewishy and the biblical era stuff,
Right.
but you can translate those images into, well, maybe that is Old Testament, or maybe that is derived from the Jewish faith. And again, all of this stuff has been hidden. But if you can get the whole lot out together and it's sequenced out properly, it tells a wonderful story. And there's so much of it. That's the other reason for keeping it hidden so much, is that when it comes out, it doesn't want to be dribs and drabs. It doesn't want to be people passing comment years in advance. You want to open the door and it's right. Here it all is. Come and have a look. It's all out at once. You've never seen any of it. Come and scratch your head and come and have a look at it. And we're getting closer to it, which is great.
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys, and I'm nervous for you at the same time. But I think it's a fantastic journey, and we're so happy that you guys came back and joined us again. It's always a lot of fun. Still waiting for our Folgers commercials. Just saying.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Okay.
But it has to be like Folgers. Not a
And
moose
you
Folgers.
have to say it. You can't put anything else in there.
Other than, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
All right. There we
That's
go. In closing,
There we
here we
go.
go. I love it. So thank you guys for joining us. And we'll have to do it again as always. And hopefully you'll be able to get to that point where you can talk about things as they become public from your end.
Well, I think date-wise, we've got our next set of business meetings at some point at the beginning of September, where hopefully we're going to all have had a think out and try to get something on paper, and the various people have got to go and make the phone calls they've got to make. So maybe by, I don't know, middle end of September, we might actually have something a bit more concrete on that you can say, well, this is where we're at and this is where we're going to do it. And that I think it's a realistic timescale now.
I love it. And I can't wait to hear all about it. And, feel free to do it, off show too. Won't hold it against you. Okay, guys.
I'll trade you an old relic for.
What is that?
This is a very ancient shoe. Because it's at least 3 years old. It's the only way I can sit under my desk. So I'll trade you this for a chalice. It's vintage. It's 3 years old.
You're not standing up behind that desk.
I can run in those. I can run in them. I can't walk barefoot. I've broken 2 toes.
Okay.
All righty. With that being said, we do have to get ready to sign off.
Bye, world.
Thank you, guys.
Bye, guys. Bye. Take care.
Take care.
Love that.
We have come to the end of another amazing segment here on the Outer Realm. It's always so much fun when we have the guys on. They're just a riot. But it was fascinating to hear more on the Hoard, because it sort of went underground for a little bit, and now there's all this exciting stuff. So
who knew all those pieces, Michelle?
I didn't know there was
They've been holding out.
It's just like, holy crud. I've been being a harpy about one chalice. I could have been harping about several.
Can't wait to see the rest of it.
It'll be fantastic. So to all of you guys tonight who have watched the recording, we hope you enjoyed it. Carl and Hamilton, again, always welcome. Open door policy. Big thank you to our sponsors, Folgers Coffee and Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, it's a tongue twister, the Sonic Surgeon. Wherever you're watching the show, please subscribe, follow, like us up, whatever it takes. If you enjoy it, please just show the support. Always appreciated. If you want to contact us, again, the Outer Realm contact at gmail.com, the Outer Realm contact at gmail.com. Tomorrow night, of course, you're not going to want to miss that. That's another fabulous Q&A with us chicks and your main dynamic duo. And check it out. Put your questions up. Go and check out. I think Amelia's got some videos on there that we're going to talk about, and a few points that we'll talk about as always. But it's going to be a lot of fun, and we look forward to seeing everybody in chat. So until then, Bubbles, anything to say?
No, just thank you, Folgers.
Thank you, Folgers. Bubbles going to have a nap. See you in chat tonight, guys.